Yo, what is up guys, Boris here, coming to you guys with a very special video today. Now, we just hit pyro level 500 on the JP server of One Piece Treasure Cruise. And I know for some people this might have taken a lot longer than they expected, but for me, I mean, for the amount of time that I play, I actually never really thought I'd hit pyro level 500, but finally did. This is a really big milestone, and you know, maybe it means that I've played the game a little bit too much. But I think for the most part, it's just a really cool event, and I figured I'd celebrate by making a video where we sort of go down memory lane. And this is my original JP account that I started a long time ago with. So there's a lot of stories and a lot of thoughts that I have for each one of these characters. Probably some that I've even forgotten, and it's going to be cool just to look back at what I have, because some of these I almost never use it ever. So let's go ahead and just take a look at all my legends that I have on this account. I'm going to give you guys maybe some stories or maybe some thoughts on them, and sit back and enjoy. It's going to be a pretty long video maybe. So let's go ahead and start with the original. And I know some legends above that, but let's just start with the original Whitebeard. He was specifically on my JP account. It's funny because he's obviously the first legend in the game, but I believe it took me a long time to get this guy. I believe I actually had to get him off a free choose your own legend event for maybe one of the anniversaries. They let you pick between some of the first few legends, and I believe that's how I ended up getting my first Whitebeard. I think then like a few sequels later I pulled a dupe one, but still awesome nonetheless. Original legend, really set the standard for the early game or the early meta in One Piece Treasure Cruise. And it's 30% HP code is something that's still very relevant today. Funny enough, 30% is still pretty tough to get above that. I believe we have the new Amand from Whole Cake Island who can do 40, but the charge on that is crazy. Same thing with the invasion version of Whitebeard. But this Whitebeard was still pretty good, and he also was the first one to get a 6+, which was a really hype event. It introduced a lot of old legends back into the game, making them relevant again. And I do remember using him at the time. He actually was really powerful when the 6+ came out, because it really did boost him a little bit, and overall, just powerhouse meta was really prominent at the time. So the original legend Whitebeard, not much more to say about that. Just kind of wish I would have pulled him a little bit earlier, but I did end up getting him. Now this one is really interesting. Rob Lucci. He, for the longest time, I wanted to get him to work. I ended up pulling Rob Lucci fairly early. He was one of my first legends, I believe, on this account, in terms of the ones that I would get among the release. And he struggled a lot because his main problem was that his recovery would be set to 0. So it was really tough to use Rob Lucci. I mean, you could use him, and I really tried to. I tried to get powerhouse teams to work in some fashion or another, even though they weren't really too useful at the time. But fortunately, he didn't really get to shine until he got his 6+, and his 6+ really made him very, very powerful. I remember using this guy all the time. His special was something that's very noteworthy because similar to Sengoku, early on he had a 10. I think you needed 10 skill ups, and that was really difficult considering that you don't have the same amount of stamina recovery that you have now. You didn't have double drops. The drop rate in the legend books was really bad. There was no gold or silver skill books, so you had to farm for days to get his skill max, and then even once you did, he really wasn't useful. But then once you get his 6+, he became a top tier, almost tier 0 captain for a while. Again, powerhouse meta was really strong at the time, and so that just that made him really, really powerful. And I was one of the few people. I remember being one of the few people who actually had this guy maxed on his account, his skill max. Most people didn't have it maxed. So just overall, really awesome legend. And although he's not used that much anymore, he still has a very, very meta-defining special that hasn't really been seen that much. Now it's sort of attached onto some characters like Carrot, for instance. They just have it attached to their captain abilities, but back in the day this was a really powerful special, and hopefully we'll get to use this guy again in the future. Next up is Crocodile. Crocodile, I remember, so there's sort of phases during OPTC, and there definitely was a Crocodile phase where I remember all the top players were using Crocodile teams. I was lucky enough to have and own Crocodile back before his 6+. And so I remember this is one of those few teams, like I said, there's sort of like an era of Crocodile where that's the only team I would use. And so anytime that happens as a YouTuber, you get a lot of people commenting and saying, "Why don't you use a different team? Why don't you use a different team?" And so I definitely there's a few other legends that happened with, but Crocodile Dream Team was really powerful, considering that most of the team, or the rest of the team, was for the most part free to play. Besides, if you had the Robin, the 3-2Y Robin, then you had the full powerful team, and it just destroyed all the content for a while. But then again, at some point, just being low HP really hurt the team. The meta shifted, and then once he got a 6+, he didn't see too much play, but he still became very powerful nonetheless. And I did end up using him from time to time, but there definitely was an era when his 6+ dominated, was tier 0, had the best team in the game, and the only problem was that you can't use it for Training Forest. And at least I don't think so, because you'd have to consistently go down to 1 HP. But for Coliseums, he was insane. He was one of the first Coliseum smashers back in the day. So just really glad that I had him when he was really good. Now this one, guys, Log Luffy. Unfortunately, I do not own a copy of the original Log Luffy, even considering the fact that I've been playing since he came out. So he was out, I think, for probably around a year or two before they retired him on all the Log characters, probably due to licensing rights. But they re-released him as this version, and I finally did end up pulling him. But guys, Log Luffy, if you guys think Whitebeard was meta-defining when he first came out, he was the first legend. Log Luffy definitely set the bar. There was very few times in OPTC where there's been one legend that dominates like Log Luffy did. I can't think of a few others off the top of my head, but I'll probably get to those later. But Log Luffy was definitely the tier 0, the 100% tier 0. Like if you didn't have them, you were kind of screwed. Some of the content, and the people, you can obviously tell there was a big difference between the players who had him and the players who didn't. But over time, his condition for his captain effect was just too restrictive. Early on, ×4 was insane. You couldn't even get close to a ×4, so that's why he was so good. But now, I mean, you can just get ×4 with Legend Carrot, so obviously he's not as good. But he's still waiting to get a 6+, so maybe at some point he will be good. I mean, considering the fact that maybe there's a new form that we could give him as 6+. Lucci, here we go. Lucci is one of those characters that as soon as he came out, the first thing I told everybody was, this guy's gonna be good for a long time. And that's simply because of the fact that he boosts red, green, and blue by 3.75. That's 3/5 of the characters in the game. So no matter how many characters come out, he's always gonna boost 3/5 of the characters in the game. There's no restriction on class, so it's really awesome when you have him. And I was fortunate, super fortunate enough to YOLO him off a multi. I did a YOLO multi, I remember, on stream, and ended up getting him. That was one of the luckiest things I've ever done in the game, and I got him on his release Sugo, and I've been using him ever since. Pretty much the only reason I would probably stop using him soon is because I just pulled Legend Carrot. So Legend Carrot is, I'd say, a little bit of an upgrade from him. Same with Big Mom. Big Mom's also a bit of an upgrade. But Lucci will still be really good. There's no drawback to Lucci, which is one of the few things that this legend has, that there's no drawback. I mean, if you count not using Sire Int as a drawback, that's not really fair, because every single legend has some sort of restriction as to what they can use, what units they can use on the team. So that's not necessarily a drawback. That's just his condition for what characters he can use. But in terms of any drawbacks, you can't. You just go all out. He has a ship that works exactly for him. And this guy, I mean, I talked about Luffy being meta-defining. This guy was meta-defining, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's the same level as Log Luffy, just because he was good. He was just very versatile. He just had the versatility, and he was a 3.75 booster. Log Luffy at the end of the day was a 4 times in an era where 3 times was really rare. So he was just really good. He was solid. You could never go wrong. I mean, Lucci, if you went into any dungeon with a Lucci team, you could probably clear most of it. If not, just clear it straight out, and then just go back, switch a few units, and you probably clear the dungeon. So just overall, it's probably the most consistent. I'll tell you, Legend Lucci is the most consistent legend that we've ever gotten, in my opinion. Next up, guys, this guy, Akainu V1. I don't know too much to say about him. There was a time when he was the best legend, and then he dropped off really hard. But for those of you guys who owned Akainu during the period where he was on top, this one gets close to, I'd say that got close to Log Luffy in terms of just how meta defining this guy was. He's just so powerful. We hadn't seen anything this powerful until he came out. He's one of the last legends to come out in the pre time skip era, and overall just did a crazy amount of damage. Like there were almost barely no restrictions, and I don't remember when I'm trying to remember when I pulled him. I don't remember if I pulled him early or late. I think I pulled him a little bit late, but still early enough to be able to use him for a lot of the content. And yeah, I remember this guy. I remember when limit breaking first came out, a lot of people went to this guy immediately because he was the best legend at the time. So like, dude, like Akainu with limit breaks just gets even better. But overall, just this introduced this was the start of I would say the new meta, where you just saw ridiculous captain effects with ridiculous specials. It was sort of the end of the old days, in my opinion, where you needed like a bunch of different abilities on your team. This one, like this guy just did everything. I mean, you could just you didn't even need specials with this guy. So it was just a crazy time. Yeah, just really, really powerful. And like I said, I did pull him early enough to be able to use him. Next up, we got Inuarashi. What can I say about this guy? I don't really have much to say about him, to be honest. Like, he's powerful. You know, he was never like the best legend, and he was never like super meta defining. But he was just a niche legend. At the time, cerebral teams were really powerful, so you could definitely throw him on there. So he wasn't useless, but he's definitely useful. His ability to do the Sabo effect allowed him to be used on like zombie teams and stuff for extra damage. And I mean, that's about it. Like, there's not much to it. There's not much to him. Just a strong cerebral captain at the time. There was a time when you would use him, but the problem Inuarashi had is he was competing with a lot of different cerebral captains when he was released. So there was just too much competition for the captain slot. So a lot of times he would just be reduced to a sub, and that was really all about it. I'm trying to remember. I don't think I pulled him early. I think I pulled him pretty late. But yeah, he was during the cerebral phase of the game. He was really, really good as a sub. I think that's all I can really say. Big Mom, these two I'm going to go over pretty quickly. Big Mom, I just pulled her. Again, she's really powerful, man. She is extremely powerful, and I'll probably do a showcase video on her soon. I mean, she's been out for a while. I think she's even out on Global, but yeah, she's extremely powerful. Yeah, I mean, the stuff you can do with her is insane. I can't wait to start using her. We tested her out on stream the other day, and she's just really, really insane in terms of just her whole mechanic. She has 3 different modes, and depending on if you eat a food orb or not, and 2 of those modes, she has her default mode, which is good, and then both of the other modes are insane. Either one is really, really good. So, and again, not much to say about Big Mom. She's just insane, and I can't wait to maybe do a showcase video or something on her. As well as Katakuri. Katakuri is also really, really good. Again, I haven't really tested him out too much, but he does sort of what I call break the game. He has those game-breaking mechanics that a few legends have, most importantly the dual units. But him specifically, he allows you to delay without having to use a special, assuming you hit X amount of damage during your turn. Overall, again, anytime you have that kind of effect, he's going to be good. Combine the fact that he also has a really powerful captain effect and stuff like that. He's not. I don't know if he's considered. I don't know if he's ever considered the best legend, but he can do some work. He can definitely do some work, especially in training islands and long dungeons. His ability to just delay without having to use any specials, gets around interrupts, and so just a really, really awesome legend that I don't know too much about still. I'm still going to play around with him for a little bit, but yeah, probably need to do just a little bit more work. I'll come back to these at the end because those are really, 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 really awesome legends. But for now, let's talk about Legend Zoro. This guy, you don't see him too much now, but for a long time, both his 6-star and his 6+ were really, really good. Like I remember, I talked about Akainu being the end of the the pre-time skip legends. Zoro was one of the first post-time skip legends, if I believe, and at the time he was just really powerful, like a slasher captain with a flat, strong boost. Just really good. I remember him being really good, and massive HP, and then his 6+ came out, and unfortunately it came out at sort of a weird time, just like I was talking about with Inu. Zoro 6+ came out at the time where you had a bunch of characters competing for the slasher captain slot, so like Treasure Mode Mihawk, and I think you had a few other guys out there with really powerful effects, and so you had a really powerful slasher meta for a little bit, but that sort of died down real fast. I think the introduction of things like barriers and interrupts made the team a little bit too weak, but overall just a really strong character, strong special. Like they did a pretty good job on Zoro, I think, and really set the tone for the new world in terms of what the captains were going to be. I think I pulled him early, but I don't remember. Now, this is a captain that I didn't pull for a long time, and to be honest, I think I've used him once. Legend Usopp. Really interesting though. Another one with a game-breaking mechanic where you can delay through the delay barrier if you have him at 6+, I believe. And another interesting character that a 6+ came out at the same time as a 6-star. So that was something I don't think we had seen before. 6-star. If you pull him right away, then you can just you can farm the green skull and evolve him. But you can also pull him as a 6-star plus, I believe, during the Seagull Fest. So really awesome. Only required 3 skill ups, so not too tough to use. But unfortunately, like he just kind of weak. I don't know what it is about him, but you don't really see him used almost ever. That's really sad for him being a legend, but I mean he does have a powerful effect. I believe you delay for 5 turns, and then if you're a 6+, you delay for like 1 turn through delay the debuff or whatever, the buff that they get that doesn't let you delay them. On top of that, his captain effect was really gimmicky as well, but just not strong enough to be seen in the meta. Again, a character that I wish I would have pulled a lot earlier. He was definitely useful in his early days, but hasn't really seen any use. I haven't really been able to use him. Same thing, here's a 6+, 6-star. Might as well do it right now. So I do have one of each, and it's really important because they kind of do different things. So Ace. This I talked about eras of OPTC. Legend Ace had a pretty long era. It rivaled, I would say it rivaled Log Luffy, although it didn't. I still think Log Luffy had a stronger dominance over the meta in OPTC, but Ace gave it a good run for its money. The Ace was Legend Ace 6-star, not the 6+. The 6-star was the beginning of Dream Team. So it was the first Dream Team where it was 6 specific units. If you had them all, you had a pretty much unbreakable team. You could clear all the content. It was Double Ace. It was Raid Boss Zephyr, Raid Boss Heracles. I believe it was like Stronghold Usopp because of the color restriction, and then you could you rounded it off with a healer, so Marco, Legend Marco. If you had that team at the time, you could clear all the content. And I remember myself, I got a lot of comments telling me to stop using that. Like, why am I using the same team? I remember other YouTubers as well also saying that. I think Totes got a lot of crap using the team, and just overall, it was that powerful. It was that powerful that it was the first unit that had everything. You had the orb manipulation, you had the attack boost, the type boost, you had the orb block, you have the delay, you had everything. It was the first team that had done that. It felt like it was all naturally, tied together. Which is funny because it took a character like Raid Boss Heracles that you never thought would be used. I remember a lot of my friends didn't even farm him, and then all of a sudden, I remember watching Thanklol streaming. He pulled Ace, I think, when he came out, and then I remember no one thinking Ace was even good, and then he figured out you can use him with Heracles, and then you can. It was insane. It just snowballed from there to becoming the best team in the game. And then when 6+ came out, he sort of started to be good again. For a little bit, he was good again. Shooters were in the meta. And funny enough, now we have some really good shooter captains and shooter subs that have been coming out, like the Legend Capone. I believe Rob Lucci 6+. The Lucci 6+ is coming out. So maybe we'll see a shooter meta coming out really soon. But it's been a long time. It's been a long time. Pretty much the only other time was Boa 6-star Legend Boa V2. That shooters were pretty much at the top. So we'll talk about it here when we get there. But Corazon, this one I don't really have too much to say about. Yeah, Corazon, interesting unit. They I think it's the first legend where they went with a different direction. Normally legends, they tended to make them very, very powerful. Like you could see a legend, you'd instantly say, okay, I want him to be my captain. But Corazon is the first time where they tried something a little bit different. His attack multiplier was really low, and instead he had this healing mechanic that they were playing around with. They had a really support special. It wasn't a booster at all. It got rid of a bunch of stuff. You pulled him and he was pretty much the absolute support unit, right? But you would never use this guy. Eventually though, he did see some use, sort of in zombie-ish style captain or teams. Well, not necessarily a zombie team, but sort of like a stall team where you consistently heal and heal and heal. I've seen a little bit playing that. I've seen a little bit play in some other, like he uses free spirit, so he does go on certain free spirit teams, and he uses cerebral, so he goes on cerebral teams. But just overall, he's one of the legends that you did not want to pull. I remember most people getting mad when they got him, and I mean, yeah, he never saw too much play, if I remember correctly. He was okay. He was a nice support unit that could get you out of certain specific situations. Other than that, nothing much. And I don't remember what his 6+ added to him, to be completely honest. I haven't used them. Okay guys, this is one of my favorite legends in the game, Legend Magellan. I remember really wanting to pull this guy, even though he really wasn't used at the time. I really wanted him just because he had a new mechanic that was toxic, right? And so the toxic could do some crazy things, and I did end up pulling him. And for a while there, I actually did use him for a lot of content. I still use him for a lot of content actually. His ability now is really strong still, and 6+ made it even better. I mean, it's just crazy. Essentially, just like they did with Corazon, Magellan, they gave him a really low multiplier, so again, they were experimenting with lower attack multipliers, but instead, to compensate for that, they gave him a really strong special that could pretty much let you wipe out any room in the game that doesn't have poison resistance, as long as you could stall enough. And so Magellan's special also healed you, so it's sort of a 2-hit combo. It's like a 1-2 punch, right? I'm poisoning you, I'm delaying you, and I'm healing, so that I can survive long enough for the toxic to take you out. And you could pair him with some really awesome stuff, you know, put him Raid Boss Samba, put in some things that did damage that didn't necessarily need to attack. And you have yourself a really powerful combo that could clear a lot of Colosseums that were really difficult. You could cheese a lot of content. And then he got a 6+ and he got even better. Really awesome. Seen in a lot of zombie teams. Seen in just overall. You use him from time to time. It's just definitely a unit that you want to have, because you never know when he'll come in handy. It's definitely, I believe this is also the first legend that I rainbowed. I was a big fan of this unit for sure, so I rainbowed him first. And yeah, just a big fan of it. Okay, this is gonna be a long video. Okay, Legend Nami, huge fan of this character. In an era where there were so many like meta-defining units at the time, she even came out alongside Gear 4 V2 Luffy, which I still don't have. They did something interesting with her. They made her a mono color captain, which they hadn't done in a long time. At least a good one. And I can't say that she's like, her captain effect is that good. It is nice, but you know, you're probably not gonna run her. But I mean, she is powerful. She's really powerful, and her special is used in a lot of teams, being both a color affinity booster, and I believe she's an orb booster as well. I don't remember. I think she's an orb booster. I might be wrong. 2 really powerful effects in 1 unit. That would be a legend-worthy special for sure. Just overall, just really fun. You can do some awesome teams. You brought back some old units like the original Law Rare Recruit and the Robin post time skip Rare Recruit. You can combine them to make some really cool plays. Really awesome team. If you ever need mono green, you know, she's great. Though the problem is that if you don't, then I don't really know what to say. But really awesome. I wish I would have obviously pulled the Gear 4 instead of the Nami, but cool captain there. Now, Rayleigh V2. What can I say about Rayleigh V2? I mean, I don't want to say he was meta-defining in terms of captains, but for the longest time, and I mean, I think he still is, he was one of the best subs in the entire game. Like, every team had a Rayleigh V2 on their team. He was both cerebral and free spirit, so he sort of worked on both of the best teams at the time. So Cerebral was doing amazing. Free Spirit had just gotten, I think, like Luffy X Ace, and so this guy was, they were putting him in there. Yeah, it was just, this guy was crazy, man. This guy was really, really good, and you know, just a high chain locker. I believe he also gets an orb boost, I want to say, and then on top of that, his captain. I mean, he was used as a captain as well, but yeah, just overall really, really powerful. I mean, it was one of those where, like, if you had Rayleigh V2, you could clear a lot of the content, as opposed to if you didn't have him, you would really struggle. I remember really wishing I had him, and I did eventually pull him. He was definitely considered one of the best legends in the game for a while there. So really awesome legend. I think I just used him the other day to clear like a ranking or something. So yeah, cool. Glad I got him, and glad I got him early. I haven't seen him used too often nowadays, but still really, really powerful. Dang, there's, okay, I might have to split this into a few videos. So we'll finish green and then we'll move on. We'll do a sub part 2. So Legend Dofi V2. This guy's a monster. This guy is a complete monster. They really did not hold back on this legend. Again, so Driven, just to put you guys into perspective, Driven, he came out with a crazy class. So Dofi V2, I believe, one of those first legends where like he came out with this batch that was super compatible with the legend. So he came out with some really powerful Driven units to really boost him up. And then if you limit break them, they boost the team even more. So not only did he have a crazy batch that really synergized with him, but he has another one of those game-breaking mechanics where his special allows you to do insane amounts of damage depending on how much you hit the previous turn. And I remember this guy, I wanted him for a while, and I did end up pulling him on a crazy Sugo. And yeah, Dofi V2, this guy, to give you guys a perfect example, I farmed the Rob Lucci raid boss using a Dofi V2 team, and I only used his special, I believe, on the boss. So I just one-shot the boss with his special. That's how insane this guy is. You don't even need to play the game. You just need to get to the boss, or the turn before the boss, just do massive damage, pop all your specials, then at the boss, just swipe up and use a special and one-shot him. The only reason he sort of started seeing a lot less play was because barriers started becoming very, very popular. Almost every boss had a barrier now. On top of that, interrupts and things like that just made it really difficult to maybe do like your the fourth room burst and then go into the fifth room. But overall, I think the main just barriers. That's his main weakness. But even then, even without his special, he still had a crazy captain effect, a crazy multiplier for your driven teams, and of course you have the Doflamingo ship to go along with it. So overall, just really, really powerful. Yeah, this guy definitely, I would say, was meta defining for a while. Still, you can if there's no barrier on the boss, bring this guy out and he'll one-shot it. So really awesome. And let me see, we have 2 legends left. Green, then I'll split it into a separate video. So first off, we have Legend Brook. Legend Brook. Unfortunately, this is really sad for me because I had always asked for a Legend Brook, and if you guys ever watched my streams, this is one of the legends that I always hoped for. I'm like, come on, they have to do a Legend Brook. I'm a big fan of Brook, especially after Whole Cake Island. When they announced Legend Brook, I got super excited. I even managed to pull him. So, you know, why am I sad? Well, it's because he's not really that good. At least for now. Maybe they'll find in the future some really cool ways to use him, but his captain effect is really interesting. Again, sort of Corazon style, where his low multiplier, but if you die, you can revive once. So that's kind of interesting. And his special is not bad. It's definitely useful. Like, it's an HP cut with some healing and stuff like that, I believe. But just overall, for a legend, him coming, same thing with Nami. He came out alongside Big Mom. So the difference between Big Mom and Brook is night and day. He almost feels like a 5-star in a sense. But I'm not gonna complain. I am glad I got him, and you know, who knows when he'll be useful. He might come in handy for sure. But you know, it's one of those where you wish you had pulled Big Mom instead, because Brook is just I think I have yet to use him. I think I have yet to use him since I pulled him. And finally, guys, this is another meta-defining unit, Blackbeard. Another unit that broke game mechanics. he could let you go through barriers, which at the time was insane. Go through barriers, go through any kind of damage reduction. And his restriction wasn't too hard to fulfill. Yeah, you just needed one of each of the original 4 classes. On top of that, if you cleared the Blackbeard forest, you also got the Blackbeard ship, which meant that if you're running double Blackbeard, you just had an insane amount of HP. You went through all barriers. You didn't have to worry about anything. The problem is you couldn't do any damage reduction on your own team. But overall, this guy definitely was insane for a while, and he still is good, I would say, today. I mean, you can still run Blackbeard with a Lucci friend captain, and you could do some damage. You could definitely do some damage, but I'd say the only problem again is that now you have better ways to do it, like Legend Carrot. Now, people call it Legend Carrot like Blackbeard 6+, because Legend Carrot also does a similar thing, although she only does it for the first 12 turns of the round. So Blackbeard definitely has a huge legacy in OPTC. I mean, this guy was everywhere for a while. Definitely meta-defining. I remember really wanting him because he was just, what the stuff he could do was crazy. And yeah, I think he still needs a 6+. I might be wrong. I think he's still looking for a 6+. So we'll see what that brings us. So that's gonna do it for now. This is already 30 minutes, so I'm gonna pause it here, guys, and then I'm gonna make a second video covering probably the rest of the legends. So see you guys.